Intj, also known as the architect or the introverted intuitive thinking judge or personality type, is an Mbti label attributed to the cognitive stack N-I, T-E, F-I, and S-E. Dominant, introverted intuition, N-I. INTJs think most people cut corners and have preconceived meanings. This type can think of new ways to look at things and understand frameworks, but realizes it's hard to get others to notice their complex conceptual leaps. INTJs look for basic solutions. Without it, they might miss details. Once they understand a subject, solutions come easily. If not, they're missing the big picture or mishandling the issue. And dominant INTJs are not personality types that focus solely on ideas and processes. It's the synthesis of the two that defines their unique insight. This type is concerned with how their cognition personalizes and condenses past experiences into maps. Introverted sensing types use more precise sensory data to create mental frameworks, building absolute completion over time. Introverted intuition deduces the map structure from similar ideas or symbols. They can often predict what one's personal conceptual impression of an unfamiliar experience will feel like and explore uncharted perceptual territory in their mind, but this tends to be limited in the level of sensory precision it can internalize and must often remap the finer details of familiar experiences using the same conceptual pattern jumping they used to arrive there in the first place. INTJs can see the conceptual limitations of languages, symbols, systems, and their interpretations. They can predict meanings within the current set of concepts without adding information or complexity. And simplifies and solves problems. If they put their mind to it, they might find a new perspective. The architects may have ideas and suggestions that go against convention, but that's not their main goal. They simply identify a problem and adapt how they think about it until they find a desirable solution. Sometimes conventional solutions result. As long as it works and it is efficient, it doesn't matter much to them. INTJs can't understand the scope of a problem properly until they avoid making unnecessary assumptions. Perpetually conscious of the difficulty of finding the correct interpretation, the more an INTJ analyzes a concept, the more they learn about it, the less prepared they feel to react without breaking it down. INTJs can see the whole solution faster if they practice breaking things down into simpler steps. While others try to fit a circular object into a triangle, this personality type imagines a triangular object that may not exist. Auxiliary, extrovert thinking, TE. Relying entirely on introverted intuition gives the INTJ a perceptive depth, but no applicability outside of it. Extrovert thinking helps dominant introverted judges structure, predict, and evaluate their environment based on how it seems to behave according to collective human understanding. INTJs know objectivity in the deepest sense is unattainable, but they may as well agree on conventions for quantifying and measuring external events so they can pursue meaningful goals. Since impressions are all they have, they can establish standards for identifying and quantifying external occurrences to collaborate on achieving their common goals. Many INTJs enjoy scientific careers because the scientific method is endorsed by knowledgeable and trustworthy people. Extrovert thinking needs a system or theory that works everywhere and is efficient for the tribe. To quantitatively and scientifically verify logical categorization groupings, TE needs a clear set of measuring rules. Introverted intuition helps INTJs analyze abstract connections, while TE's goal is to apply the most contexts in a standardized and predictable way. INTJs don't use subjective logic. As INTJs mature and develop TE, they can delegate tasks and turn visions into measurable projects. They organize the disciplines and processes needed to achieve their goals and are gifted at breaking down large processes into manageable tasks. So TE loves independence, responsibility, and accountability. TJs want to manage resources intelligently and stand on their own feet. TE views society as a network of logical relationships that won't work unless each member embraces their share of responsibility. TJs hate being dependent and are very resourceful. Extrovert thinking focuses mainly on using the available resources efficiently. INTJs succeed in management roles where they can change real-world methods and processes. They won't take on a project unless it's beneficial or they need the money, and they'll do everything they can to make it successful. They hold themselves to high standards because if they don't uphold the collective standards by which TE governs structural relationships between external world entities, like laws, procedures, and rules, they'll have no recourse when the parties they work with don't hold up their end of the deal. INTJs finish their given tasks, and this is mostly a matter of pride and resourcefulness. If a person ignores the accepted TE method, an INTJ may be unwilling to work with them again. Tertiary, introverted feeling, FI. INTJs can appear cold, uncaring, and distant from others' needs and feelings. The reason for this stereotype is that social interaction is one of the weak points of this personality type. This is due to a combination of extrovert thinking, small talk and pampering people's feelings is a waste of time, and FI, if I don't like or empathize with this type of person, I don't see why I should connect emotionally with them when I don't want to. INTJs find cultural rituals unjust and arbitrary. Nothing but courtesy that they didn't ask for, and it usually ends up with them being criticized for ignoring it. If there's no law or logical reason to do so, they don't feel obliged to play along. Introverted feelings allow individuals to judge and evaluate things subjectively and give people a moral conscience that connects them to their real sense of value and higher purpose. For many INTJs, tertiary introverted feeling provides a much-needed counterbalance to their logic and objective evaluations. Instead of using numbers and facts, FI assists the INTJ in analyzing the emotional and moral implications of art and aesthetics. They learn to identify and empathize with the more sensible and artistic souls, instead of just focusing on concepts. FI connects the INTJ to something higher than himself, more powerful than his worldly objectives and desires, and more vital than anything he will ever accomplish in his lifetime. It gives him a great sense of personal duty to defend that which is good and just, learning to choose worthwhile causes beyond his own prerogatives and privileges. In other words, it enables him to establish clear boundaries between right and wrong. INTJs who neglect or don't develop FI can't achieve this. Since NI can interpret everything to serve TE's goals of efficient resource use, a lack of this introverted judgment can justify almost any action that endangers human lives. When extrovert thinking is underdeveloped, resulting in an NI and FI loop, the INTJ is pressured to conform to any external expectation or method. This cognitive loop makes an INTJ think that by accepting or promoting objective facts, they expose NI's pure insight to possibly misleading bias. This personality type begins resenting anyone that creates expectations that might compromise their valued personal moral identity. INTJs withdraw from any interaction, certain that the only way to obtain pure and perfect insight is to filter off all types of external sources. Introverted intuition deliberately distances itself from objective reality, allowing weird and irrational impressions to influence this type's thoughts of dark injustices. Inferior, extrovert sensing, SE. This type's introverted perception function limits itself to familiar information. INTJs get why extrovert perception, which encourages absorbing new information, is a psychological barrier for introverted judger types. In stressful situations requiring external knowledge and real-time adaptability, the INTJ's inferior SE emerges. IJs are most comfortable when they are allowed to select the type of information that they wish to interpret and absorb it into their internal framework, which extrovert sensing will then consult to determine the most effective externally accepted methodology. INTJs are forced to use their inferior SE function during stressful times, especially when they have to gather a large amount of information and respond quickly to a given situation. They must learn to act a bit more on impulse without time for reflection or consideration, especially in situations where they have no map or experiential templates. They must learn to trust their extrovert sensing function in order to improvise. Undifferentiated information and a lack of control from being unable to reflect or evaluate options before responding is scary for INTJs. Their inferior SE function causes fight or flight responses. Even though they tend to be extremely calm and reserved, this type can be prone to sexual indulgence, bouts of rage, and violence. Some INTJs buy expensive cars, houses, and other status symbols to show off their hard work and dedication. They know some people focus only on ostentatious possessions, and while they consider this a primitive value system, INTJs enjoy spending money on nice things in order to indulge the desires of their unconscious SE. Introverted intuition finds it amusing how this type of shallow display of power and status influences ordinary people's perceptions of others around them. INTJs dislike this type of literal surface meaning because it challenges NI focus on hidden insights that they value so much. If INTJs learn to positively command SE, they can spot situations where looking for meaning is useful and more efficient. For an introverted intuition dominant type, shutting off this desire to read between the lines and focus solely on the immediate sensory information in front of them is just as threatening as turning off the five senses would be for a dominant extrovert sensor. TE's desire to be judged as competent and effective often leads INTJs to take pride in their physical appearance and make sure their clothing, speech, and aesthetic tastes are up to date. It helps them appreciate simple pleasures like food, art, and physical intimacy without constant meta-analysis. SE helps to improve FI aesthetic sense while letting them have controlled and pure fun. Many INTJs would benefit if they could release their anger in a healthy way, mainly through sports. Once that's done, they can get back to work and be the efficient visionaries that they are meant to be. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it in the future, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Leave in the comments what type of personality you would like us to address in the next videos.